Start it.
Yes, Mathaji.
Hare Krishna. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tadho jayam udirayet nastya prayeshvabhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavad uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naistiki om atnanatimirandhasya ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपात्वमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारणम्। Hare Krishna. So we are on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 25, Text 30. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, Canto 3, Chapter 25, Verse 30. Tad etanme vijanihi यथाहं मन्दधीर्हरे सुखं बुद्ध्येय दुर्बोधं योषा भवत् अनुग्रहात् तत् एतन्मे विजानीहि यथाहं मन्दधीर्हरे सुखं बुद्ध्येय दुर्बोधं योषा भवत् अनुग्रहात् तद् एतन्मे विजानीहि यथाहं मन्दधीर्हरे सुखं बुद्ध्येय दुर्बोधं योषा भवत् अनुग्रहात्. Word for word meaning: tat etat, that same, me, to me, vijanihi, please explain, yatha, so that, aham, I, manda, slow, dhi, whose intelligence, hare, O my Lord, sukham, easily, buddhyeya, may understand, durbodham, very difficult to understand, yosha, a woman, bhavad anugrahat, by your grace. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. My dear son Kapila, after all, I am a woman. It's very difficult for me to understand the absolute truth because my intelligence is not very great. But if you will kindly explain it to me, even though I am not very intelligent, I can understand it and thereby feel transcendental happiness. My dear son Kapila, after all, I am a woman. It's very difficult for me to understand the absolute truth because my intelligence is not very great. But if you will kindly explain it to me, even though I'm not very intelligent, I can understand it and thereby feel transcendental happiness. Report by Srila Prabhupada. Knowledge of the absolute truth is not very easily understood by ordinary, less intelligent men. But if the spiritual master is kind enough to the disciple, however unintelligent a disciple may be, then by the divine grace of the spiritual master, everything is revealed. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur therefore says, Yasya prasadat by the mercy of the spiritual master, the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Bhagavat Prasada, is revealed. Devahudi requested her great son to be merciful towards her because she was a less intelligent woman and also his mother. By the grace of Kapila Dev, it was quite possible for her to understand the absolute truth, even though the subject matter is very difficult for ordinary persons, especially women. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So, in this particular verse, Devahuti is humbly submitting herself in front of the Lord, Kapila Dev, who is her son, saying that her intelligence, that she does not have the intelligence to understand this knowledge, and but she's counting on his anugraha, his blessing, or his grace, or his mercy, by which she has absolute confidence that she can understand by his mercy. So, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada emphasizes this most important aspect of how even an unintelligent person can obtain the knowledge of the absolute truth by the kindness and mercy of the spiritual master. Prabhupada says, by the divine grace of the devotee or spiritual master, everything is revealed. Yasya prasada bhagavat prasado. But in reality, there is absolutely no difference between the mercy of the Supreme Lord Krishna and the mercy of the devotee. It is one and the same. So Devahudi here he is very intelligent, in fact, but she fully understands the significance of receiving the mercy of the Lord. In this case, her son, who is also serving as her spiritual master, um, and asking for that particular blessing or the grace. She has 100% confidence. She's absolutely confident that by the Lord's mercy, she can understand the absolute truth. Now, to get to this point in this chapter, looking back into uh, the discussion which led to this particular one, that there is you can see that there are so many points which connects the dots. So in verse number 6, Devahudi had asked Kapila Dev to show her tattva marga darshana. Tattva marga darshana. So the conclusion of the knowledge. What is the conclusion of the knowledge, and what is the ultimate goal of studying about absolute truth? This was Devahudi's question. And what is the end of pursuing this absolute truth? And then following that, in verse number 8, she addressed the Lord as Sat Chakshur, one who has transcendental eye. And there she says, again, in verse number 8, which is so many verses before, Devahudi is addressing the Lord and she's saying, by the Lord's mercy, I have attained you after many, many, many births. So Devahudi is recognizing the fact that it is by the Lord's mercy he had come as her son, and his grace is so important to her. And then, and again in verse number 13, Kapila Dev is speaking about Adhyatma Yoga, Adhyatmika Yoga, which is a yoga system concerning the soul. And And Kapila Dev is saying this Adhyatmika yoga is most beneficial for us. It's most beneficial. Um, it causes detachment from that which is material or material happiness and distress, and attachment to the Supreme Lord. So Kapila Dev actually will further expand on this particular key verse afterwards in the following 8 chapters or so. And in here, what is described is 3 different type of yoga systems relating to the soul, and that is bhakti, jnana, and yoga. Ashtanga yoga. Whether it is bhakti yoga, jnana yoga, or ashtanga yoga, these are all relating to the soul. So when our mind is endowed with knowledge and detachment, jnana and vairagya, when the mind is endowed with that, it is at that point one sees everything in the right perspective. So jnana and vairagya, it has a role, but it serves as assistance to the bhakti. And without bhakti, just jnana or vairagya alone does not produce any positive results. So by that practice of this adhyatmika yoga, the result of that is one becomes indifferent to all that which is material, and the material influence slowly subsides, and material influence act less upon such a person who is practicing this adhyatmika yoga system. Fully understanding jnana and um, vairagya alone doesn't work, but the culmination of all that is bhakti. And the Lord explained um, in another verse that the mind is the pivot meaning the central point. So everything depends upon this mind, which is a representation of the Lord Himself. Mind can cause bondage, and mind can also cause detachment. And when the mind is absorbed in the 3 modes, it causes bondage. But when the mind is deeply attached to the Supreme Lord, it becomes the cause of liberation as well. And so Lord Kapila Dev already explained that the best process for attaching the mind to the Lord is Bhakti Yoga. And it cannot be ever overemphasized, because the more you read Srila Prabhupada's purports, you will see uh, why he is repeatedly explaining this difference between any other process and Bhakti Yoga. It is not that we are fanatically attached to a particular process, but that attachment of the mind to the Supreme Lord cannot happen if one is not engaged in that service or that devotional service. Personal attachment to the Lord need to happen to make any progress in this path. So in this context, after discussing this yoga system, the topic changes to the description of the sadhus. Sadhus who are the carriers of the Lord's mercy. And this is the point we need to reach in this particular verse. Devahudi is specifically asking for the mercy or anugraha of Lord Kapiladev. So the sadhu's qualities are described previously, and then the Lord is emphasizing again that bhakti again is the most suitable path. And then once again the description goes towards attachment to the self-realized devotees. So who is a sadhu? A sadhu is someone who has unflinching, who is unflinchingly engages in devotional service to the Lord all the time. And so Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he teaches in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela, he says, Lava Matra sadhu sangha. One moment's association of the sadhu can one can attain perfection, and the path of liberation actually begins with the association of sadhus. And so uh, then, after the description of these extraordinary qualities of the sadhus are given, who are the carriers of Lord's mercy, and then the Lord explains the attachment to these holy men. Um, there is a description of Bhakti Mishra Yoga. There is description of Jnana Mishra Bhakti. All these things have different results, such as impersonal liberation, and leading to Devahudi asking this question: what type of devotional service is the best? What is the best one to develop? And how does one attain that deep attachment to the Lord's lotus feet? So, the direct answer to this question, what type of devotional service, it comes towards the end of this particular chapter, and particularly the last verse in this chapter, that's the verse number 44. It is said that the greatest benefit can be achieved only by offering one's mind in intense bhakti of the Lord. So previously, it was clearly stated mind acts as the pivot, the central point, and the conclusion, like what is the best practice? The direct answer is that practice where one's mind is uh, offering one's mind in intense bhakti to the Lord. So that verse, the verse number 41, it is Etavan eva lokesmin pumshan nishreya sodaya tivrena bhakti yogena mano mayarpitam stiram. Tivrena bhakti yogena mano mayarpitam stiram. Mind should be offered to the Lord by Tivrena Bhakti Yogena. So if there is no fixed deep attachment in the mind towards the Lord, all the processes that we undertake will have only that much of effect. So that brings us to actually the context in this today's verse, verse number 30. It is all about the grace of or the mercy of the Lord, which reaches us when we shift our mind's attachment from material things to a sadhu. So in verse number 29, previous verse, a word is used that is Bhagavat Bana. Bana is actually a arrow, and Bhakti Yoga system is just like an arrow, which is a sharp arrow aiming at the Supreme Lord, and it penetrates the Lord. It goes through the impersonal aspect of the Lord, and ultimately it reaches the Lord. And so when this Bhagavad Bhana, which is the Bhakti Yoga practice, it ends one's material existence, and that's why it is so very powerful. So coming back to the topic of grace, the topic on grace, which is the main point of this particular verse, um, and also from both Devahuti's question of previous verses of Kapila Dev, this leads us to the understanding that our sadhana process, which is the chanting of the holy name, or what we call as our bhajana kriya, it it must be accompanied by Krishna's grace. Uh, and that Krishna's grace is same as the grace coming from a sadhu. So um, it is it is only that mercy of Krishna, or the mercy of Krishna coming through a sadhu, uh, that can give us entrance into Krishna's heart. Without that, nothing is possible. And there's a verse in Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 51st chapter. And this is spoken by King Muchukunda. Muchukunda is explaining that the awakening of true devotion takes place by the grace of devotee association. The verse translates, when the material life of a wandering soul has ceased, O Achyuta, he may attain the association of your devotees, and when he associates with them, there awakens in him devotion unto you, who are the goal of the devotees and the Lord of all causes and their effects. So one has to clearly see one can see clearly in this verse the sequence of events. The sequence of events is that devotee association, it is devotee association that terminates our material entanglement, not this cessation from fruitive activities or cessation of the fruitive life. Cessation of fruitive life comes after. It is the devotee association which comes in the beginning. And we have to be very clear about that, that there is never a time we will have cessation of material activities in this life. It is one way or other. We are living here, and naturally we are involved in all these materialistic activities. But when there is devotee association, that terminates everything else. So the power of this devotee association, there are different levels of uh, this power. Different devotees affects the conditioned souls like us in different ways. An average devotee or a devotee who is just a regular practitioner can give to another person some degree of faith. It is possible for any average practicing person to be able to impart faith to another soul. And one who is at the level of bhava bhakti can probably transmit some of the power that he has already acquired. Or someone who is in prema bhakti stage can give anything, any aspect of devotion, any level of devotion. I think it was a couple of classes ago when Haridwani Prabhu was speaking about an example of a person who was participating in a procession of Lord Ranganath, and he was very deeply attached to a beautiful woman, and he couldn't take his eyes off her. But when Ramanujacharya gave him his mercy, and Ramanujacharya was able to point out to him the beauty of Lord Ranganath, who was there in front of his eyes even before, but it didn't catch his attention. And when Sri Ramanujacharya brought his attention to the beauty of Ranganath, he immediately, his whole life changed and he became deeply attached. So, this is the kind of different caliber devotees affecting the lives of different people. So someone may be able to give us some faith in this practice, someone may be able to take us even further. But this shift, the attachment to the devotee, shifting attachment from everything else to the deep attachment towards the devotee is a critical point. That is one of the most important things discussed in this verse. So I'll give a quotation, a quote from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu by Srila Rupa Goswami. The verse is 1316, and he writes, Prasada Vachika Loka Dana Hardadayo Hare. Krishna's mercy manifests through the words of the Lord, in the presence of the Lord, or through the heart. Krishna's mercy manifests through either the words of the Lord or in the presence of the Lord or from the heart. And then Rupa Goswami says that uh, the same result, which is just the same result that comes out of Krishna's mercy, it also comes from the mercy of the devotees. So there is absolutely no difference between Krishna's mercy and the devotee's mercy. Now, there are so many examples of Krishna's mercy manifesting either by his word or by his presence or from the heart. And a few of such examples are one is that of the mercy received by Narada Muni. And he received the mercy from the sages. And the sages instructed him simply to sit and hear. That was their instruction. And sit and hear the Lord's pastimes. All Narada Muni did when he was a small child was sit and hear, following those sages' instructions. So, this is the instruction coming from the sages in verbal form. So, this is what Rupa Goswami is talking about, the words of the Lord, same verbal form, verbal mercy coming from the sages transformed the life of Narada Muni. And in Naradiya Purana, Krishna is speaking to Narada. Krishna is blessing Narada Muni. He says, "May you have undeviating bhava bhakti for me." It is a benediction directly coming from the Supreme Lord. Of course, understandable. If Krishna gives a direct benediction to anyone, most powerful, naturally one receives it. And then mercy coming through the form of the Lord or the deity form of the Lord, his direct appearance through deity. And this is an example given in Padma Purana. It is uh, the form of the deity producing bhava in the heart of a devotee. And um, this happened to a Gandharva girl, and her name is Chandrakandi, and she developed a deep attachment to the deity form of the Lord and developed spontaneous, ecstatic devotion. And she danced the whole night in front of the deity form of the Lord. And this is an example of mercy coming from the deity form, that is, by the presence of the Lord. And it is amazing just to think about this opportunity given to us by Srila Prabhupada to engage in deity service in our own temples. And so we have all the opportunities available that is listed here in Rupa Goswami's description. Another verse from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which is cited by Jiva Goswami, this is well known to all of us. He says, "Do not look upon the form of the Lord called Govinda wandering near Keshi Tirtha on the bank of Yamuna River if you want to enjoy friends and relatives." And this is again a form of mercy uh, coming by Krishna's, personally seeing Krishna's form. Rupa Goswami is saying, don't go near Keshi Tirtha. There you may see this form of Govinda, and if you see this form, you will never want anything else. You wouldn't want your friends or your relatives or family. And another example of this bhava by the mercy of the devotee is in the transformation that is taking place of Mrigari the hunter. We are all familiar with that. And he was transformed from being a cruel hunter to become a fully accomplished Vaishnava by the mercy of Narada Muni. So Krishna's mercy manifesting either through his words or his presence or his deity form or all of this. This is equally true, the mercy manifesting from Krishna's own devotees. So what does it mean, the mercy through the association of the saints means being in their presence and directly hearing from them, directly seeing them, and directly receiving their instructions. And Krishna himself is describing the result of seeing and hearing from empowered devotees. This is one last verse. Here, the two sons of Kuvera, Nala Kuvera and Manigriva, being cursed to become the trees. And after freeing them from that confined form, uh, Lord Krishna is saying this verse in 10th canto, Srimad Bhagavatam. The Lord says, Sadhunam samachittanam sutaram mat kritatmanam darshanam no bhavet bandha pumsho ksho savitur yatha sadhunam samachittanam sutaram mat kritatmanam darshanam no bhavet bandha pumsho ksho savitur yatha. When one is face to face with the sun, there is no longer darkness from one's eyes. Similarly, when one is face to face with a sadhu, a devotee, who is fully determined and surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one will no longer be subject to material bondage. So, by the mercy of Narada, these two personalities who were confined in the form of tree, they not only got liberated, but they also attained loving devotion to Krishna. So, such is the spiritual influence of great devotees. Just like the sun can dissipate darkness, their presence can dissipate darkness from our lives and bring us closer towards Krishna. So that's all what I have to say today. Hare Krishna. Thank you all for being here. If anyone has any comments or something to add, appreciate that.
Hare Krishna, Premananda, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Guru Master Srila Prabhupada. This is a very wonderful class. I mean, kind of a 360-degree view of what is going on in this chapter, bringing so many examples and the many channels through which one receives bhakti, all through the descending mercy. Thank you very much, Hare Krishna.
Yeah, there is unlimited number of references on the grace of the devotee. Grace of the devotees have been described so many times by so many personalities, and something which any practicing devotees should always be consciously aware of, because while practice is on one side, one has to clearly see the significance of the grace that is coming from the devotee, and therefore the 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 shifting of our deep attachment from that which is material to such a personality. Deep attachment. We have deep attachments to so many things in this material world. How do you shift that deep attachment to a sadhu, which really dissipates the darkness of our eyes, just like the sun can dissipate the darkness? That's the message of this verse. Thank you for your comment, and thank you for all of your presence. Appreciate it. Unless nobody has anything else to say, we can log out, I think.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Yeah,
Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji. As I second Sandhya Mataji's comment, yes, it's a 360 view. You gave wonderful references, wonderful, yes, as you said, there are so many references we can quote. It was so nice to hear from you. Today morning, I was hearing from His Holiness Rompad Swami Maharaj's class, one of his class. where one, during the question and answer session, one devotee was asking, she recently lost her husband, and how to, she said, in my service I see lot of faults. I'm aware of my faults, what I'm doing, but how to still go back to Goloka. So Maharaj was saying, it's like a easy answer is, it's only Krishna's mercy. And also we cannot just say, put on Krishna's hands, I know what I'm doing is wrong, but still Krishna protect me. Yes, we can depend on Krishna, but at the same time our endeavor is very, very important. And I was connecting to the point what you said. It's sadhus association, for definitely devotee association is a major part here, where our spiritual master connects to Krishna. So very beautiful point. And he also mentioned, like, now you responded for Sandhya Mataji's appreciation. When we turn towards sunlight, we see Krishna. When we turn back, we see only the shadow. That's very natural. It's our choice, whether to turn towards the sunlight or turn our back to, sunlight or Krishna. Thank you so much, Mataji. I really appreciate.
But, thank you for your feedback, and the what I was when I read this particular purport, I came across so many back references on just this topic of grace. And you mentioned, Maharaj said that, what was the first thing that you said? Maharaj mentioned that Krishna's mercy, he said that, right, to this devotee who questioned.
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah. And what is Krishna's mercy? See, the thing is, there is one side, there is an active participation from our side, which is executing our sadhana process, which is in our bhajana kriya. And we have so many refinements we have to add to our own bhajana kriya. But however much refinement, whatever, let us say by the Lord's mercy, we are able to make some improvements. But that alone will not help, because there is that other verse which I quoted where it said, we have to clearly understand the sequence in which things happen. The sequence does not happen that we get rid of all our entanglements and then you make some improvement. No, the correct sequence is that the devotee's mercy, which is coming to us through the spiritual master, we have to clearly see that. And once the spiritual master or Srila Prabhupada is right in front of your eyes, and that attachment, the shifting of our attachment to those personalities, when that happens in our mind, then automatically all this effort is required. Effort is going on one side. We are required to do that. But deep attachment, that shifting has to happen towards the sadhu. And how will that shifting happen? Because there are so many other distractions which are happening, and so many deeper attachments are there. But genuinely shifting our attachment towards that sadhu, that the mind acting as a pivot, usually this mind, it is oscillating between various things, and mind acting as a central focal point from where you are shifting your attachment from that which is so many other things to that sadhu. So Maharaja's answer to this devotee relating to this topic, that he said, yeah, mercy of Krishna. Then what do we need to understand? Yes, mercy of Krishna, which is coming through you, my dear spiritual master. And when that happens, that there is a deep transformation that is happening within one's heart, and then we see things in the right perspective. What is the right sequence? First comes the devotee, and then comes everything else. We can master all the scriptures in the world. We can either we all have mixed modes of uh, practice of devotion, Jnana Mishra Bhakti or Yoga Mishra Bhakti, or maybe so many other things mixed with Bhakti. But the shift and deep attachment towards the devotee, pure devotee of the Lord, whose definition was also given, one who has completely dedicated themselves in the service of the Supreme Lord. When that shift happens within our own heart, that's when everything begins. Usually, what happens is we just go through the mechanical process and we do not really see the sequence right properly, because so many distractions are there. Even though this is such a simple, straightforward thing, we seem to overlook this fact. So the mercy factor is very, very important, and the mercy comes through just simply developing that deep attachment towards uh, one's own spiritual master, or the devotee, or Srila Prabhupada. In all those, every activity that we do, that deep attachment, if it is shifted towards them, then everything follows. So even when a spiritual master guides one, yeah, it is Krishna's mercy. We need to understand it is your mercy. So that is there's like so many back references to this grace in our scriptures. There is no limit, unlimited number of references. We can speak forever, but we overlook. That is our problem. Thank you all.
So true, Mataji. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisance. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. How do you?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
How do you log out now?
Yeah, you can. I will end